Private Living Rio, 16 September 2023. We will move something here. Indeed, we didn't had something about today, but we will consider things we had since September 9, which we present the idea as diplomatic procedure, USA, Portugal, and the paradigm as observation. We could understand that will lead to the corruption, and the corruption is the way, so we can achieve the pathway from corruption, leading to institutional corruption and regular purpose as institutional corruption inside the institution. It doesn't matter which will be the institution. It was supposed to be reported by the two drivers, USA A and Portugal B, considering the European Commission. As part of global defense, we are doing an intellectual activity inside my private living, totally according with the law and constitutional rules, not only in Brazil, offered conclusion of project while data attached. Brazil or any other situation with the same qualities in general is a criminal system as conjuncture or a criminal driver, since embedded at the architecture and can be the main driver or a peripheral driver, I would say, as observed at the G20 in a composition as part of 197 explicit nations, which implies not 197 constitution, but 197 financial instruments for control, like the budget. Apply all consequences affordable was the request constantly made, offering the case yet to the international police and the International Criminal Court. Based on effort, while data attached at the European Monetary Police, which has interest in understanding and prevent the continuity of parallel architecture like the piracy, which impacts the market. The parallel structure of power will impact the balance of power. Required to the International Criminal Court and the Antitrust Justice, USA and Europe, have all issues complained against the G20 to spot the current main head, the chief, the leader with domain of this illicit acts and observation in Blazing Act currently observed, and present reasons of violations and crimes which indeed has no excuses to be made. 14. We offered the financial research, and we was at the beach house, as you could remember. A complaint transnational organized crime and others by proofs valid, because the proof must be valid, and confirmed as validation, against institutional crime by violated rights, guarantees, and interests hurt, with no excuse to be made. Audit, governance, risk and compliance, administration, CGQ MOUTINHO, it's me. Risk analysis 2014-2024. Complainant, Brazil and peers as transnational organized crime and systemic criminality operated by permutation of centers as interest at the relation, which can be a driver embedded in an architecture as main driver or peripheral, or a system as itself like conjuncture, with good fraudulent records about all things, including the macroeconomical data. I observed that the COVID is nothing new and not a privilege of Brazil, the cretinismus Brazilians. It's a mental illness, a state of mind as neural network of the current criminality in global scale. Then we will check that this is always criminal, always corruption. Corruption is illegal in all areas. And we will have institutional crime, which is always organized crime by the hierarchical levels we have. The Financial Research, NATO, ICC, International Criminal Court, continuous. We had the concepts and the charts we will post if we didn't. The crime sees systemic interaction by integration of crimes, generally as corruption, which is the source. Systemic crime, the criminal practice interacting inside functions of a system. Systemic criminality, the systemic crime as pattern by frequency of distortion and risks. If got stability, became a crime system. The major threat is proved that the International Criminal Court and Interpol, not only the cultural destruction by the fake records with stamps as public departments and government, but also the economy and the consume. The economy global, the consume diffuse, as observed that the coverting thing, the money willing this scam is global, and the vaccines and things, including the hospital fields that disappear suddenly, are also threats against the consumer, especially by the theory on UK consumerism, which consider the citizen a consumer of public service. It's the same thing on consumer law in Brazil, law 8078, I think article 6, clause number 8, as essential, and 10, essential basic rights of the consumer, that I never had, for instance. Even with the complaint presented against the Brazil. The last thing we had here was this, as reciprocity police. I suffered an aggression as an individual of a group. The group that hurt me will be probably be hurt by the interests of by this individual. For instance, Brazil is a piece of shit. Then we will check that sometimes an individual inside the group, as offender group, will hurt someone. And then I will check this filthy animal is a piece of shit. And sometimes the individual is a pussy, will hit someone and back to the group. And then you will say that this group is a piece of shit, under financial constraints until put this filthy animal out to be sent to jail. This was the idea we had. The purpose as well data task was to dismiss list and centers of interest ruled by criminal purpose. The criminal purpose ruling this starts from the top. You must do the destitution. Risk analysis we did offered to the Antitrust Justice, the International Criminal Court, USA and Europe, and also the Interpol. All this to encourage the dismantle order, because the courage it's not the problem as itself. You have the courage to do a lot of things wrong as wrongdoing, but the will to do the right thing, which implies the dismiss. I will observe previously that I had the public structure globally talking. I have the corporate structure globally talking. I have my environment here. You decided to hurt my environment, which is a space that has no excuse to be made, even in a regular procedure, and works as something illegal, as criminality. You did both, and I complained both as reply, and I could observe that both has corruption. It doesn't matter which is the qualitative functional argument as cognitive bias, outlaw, and outliners running as corruption with integration by this kind of wrongdoing, which is the corruption until form structure interacting as a system. I must have the lien. I put them all inside my paycheck in a very first moment to understand this. And after have them highlighted, I request to do the lien management, having the dismiss of this area here, or the institution non-public department, that by the aggression they did, which is hurt the environment, which implies my privacy and stalk, harass and other things. Even if they, for instance, didn't got in touch with people inside or something like this, but they hurt the guarantee and the rights. The paycheck as compensation, the same thing at the corporations linked with that, for instance, even if they got in touch with the entire economic asset as intellectual asset or industrial secret totally lifted, indeed they violated the condition as secret and secrecy, for instance, they will do the payment considering this area here, that is the outline. Summarize the things. The violations you did is a crime as itself, is illegal, wrongdoing as itself. It's forbidden as regular, much worse as criminal by criminal purpose. It doesn't matter if you achieve it, for instance, the issues at the private living by the violation of privacy and private space, because the wrongdoing is the violation. The economical gains you consider obtained by the objects that you try to steal, it's not relevant to the analysis as the International Criminal Court or any other, considering also the economic espionage, because the economic espionage is the wrongdoing as itself. When you, for instance, change my mobile that has connection at the internet, or get in touch with issues with, for instance, the banana split sexual position, input things that you have no idea about what kind is this. So Brazil, you are, really going down the dumps. I think you belong to this place. But the conclusion must be made at the court, the International Criminal Court, if it has or not the misuse of state power, by all things complained against the state power misuse, generally as criminal purpose. To maybe encourage the antitrust justice in USA and Europe with regimes that has criminal interests inside, to put the offenders out by the misuse and treasonous acts of the state, eliminate them at the chart, and also the corporations do the cut of criminal activity on it, considering the interest as investor, all in blazing act, with no excuse as institutional corruption, but keeping all things complained from corruption until get the systemic mobilization in global scale against a single individual. If you never receive my complaint, you would like to push me now as a criminal. I think that this is arbitrariness. But what do you think, International Criminal Court and International Police? We are waiting the declaration of guiltiness against Brazil and peers at the G20 only goes at this, with institutions misused, public and corporate, with the regression as we presented. They must share the bill. This time, we don't have a bill of right, but the right is a bill, and it's executed. Now must be accomplished and the credit entirely satisfied, with regression until the chairs, filthy animals cowardly hidden inside the institution. Any question? Have a great weekend and week.